Well, there you have it. Brian Callahan, your first coach fired. What's next for the Titans and Cam Ward? We got a Monday Night Football doubleheader to reflect on. That's all coming your way today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins, and we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app.
Joe, I'm not going to lie. I was sweating a little bit because I believe on this program, I said anybody that puts money on Mike McDaniel to be the first head coach fired, you're giving away money. Something to that effect. I was a little stressed, but the shoe has fallen, and it is Brian Callahan, which we should have seen coming because the Titans every other year fire somebody, and it was John Robinson and kept Mike Vrabel, and then it was fire Mike Vrabel and keep Rand Carthon, and then it was fire Rand Carthon and keep Brian Callahan while simultaneously promoting your VP of football operations to your president of football operations and hiring a GM to come in over top of him. And now 6 games into the following season, now you fire Brian Callahan after making a collective choice with the first overall pick and spending the last 8 months investing in Cam Ward with a coach who's no longer here.
Messy.
Did I miss anything?
Messy. No, you got it right.
God, dude.
Yeah. Boy, what a disjointed operation when you have over that stretch of time that much influence from that many different coaching staffs and that many different GMs that are trying to put their stamp on an operation, and you just have a disjointed overall operation. Brian Callahan should have been fired. Let's start there, right? Like, obviously, there's been a lot of missteps along the way, but that doesn't mean that staying committed to Brian Callahan was the right decision. The Tennessee Titans in 2025 have scored the least amount of points through 6 games of any team since 1985. And I understand
Say that again?
Yeah, it's the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
Through the first 6 games of the season have scored the least amount of points of any team in the NFL since 1985. That comes courtesy of the great host of Locked On Titans, Tyler Rowan. I heard him say it about 3 times listening to all of his reaction. And I know that he's the happy man for this. So obviously that's not a great sign for an offensive-minded head coach. But I think you can see enough shorthanded offenses and offensive-minded coaches being able to muster up more than the worst scoring offense the NFL has seen in like 40 years. So it's obviously an offense that's failing. He goes, 4-19 in his 23 games as the head coach. But we just watch the Titans over this stretch and just see a really bad football team. They don't play complimentary ball. Their offense turns it over like crazy. They can get no rhythm going, and it snatches the soul of their defense. He's made goofy hiring decisions around him. He's a hothead. Yeah, Brian Callahan ain't it. So, yeah, another change, but this one very, very necessary.
Do you know who the Titans play this week, by the way?
Yeah, they play New England. They weren't going to fire Callahan after getting bounced by New England, so they got to do it this week.
Right. Yeah. In Tennessee as well.
Yeah.
It's a home game for the Titans.
Yeah.
So the 4-2 Patriots rolling into town. Vrabel in year 1. All the good vibes. Yeah. I guess it's just really frustrating for I get you're at different intersections and people with different timelines and you want to give people a fair shake, but if you try to give everybody a fair shake and give the sample size you need before you have conviction, like this is This is where you end up, because what if the Patriots ran it back with Gerard Mayo when it was painfully apparent last year that Gerard Mayo and like a lot of those same warts existed into this year, and they're using lack of growth as a point of emphasis for why they make the change with Brian Callahan. And now, what did Bill Callahan? Did I see he officially stepped away? I think he's expected to step away if he didn't officially do so already.
It's an awkward situation, right? Well, that offensive line hasn't been very good. He hasn't done his thing, like.
Well, they've had some good individual performers. Pete Skoronski's looking good.
Sure.
How's the Dan Moore contract looking? We're told he was the only starting left tackle out, right? So our original idea when we got into this was to look at it through the lens of Cam Ward. Are you at the point where you're ready to get into it through the lens of Cam Ward, or is there anything else with Tennessee and their operation that you feel like needs to get tackled here?
No, I think everything has to be about Cam Ward moving forward. This is a quarterback that you just picked number 1 overall. He's 6 games into his career. He's got tools. It seems like he's got some pretty good makeup. And your best chance to get it turned around is figuring out how to get him to play to his potential, and that starts with finding the right head coach to pair him with.
Cam Ward, the Cam Ward tenure under Brian Callahan, 55% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 183.5 yards a game, pass rating of 67.3, a QBR, which is out of a 100-point scale of 19.8, leads the league in sacks, leads the league in yards lost on sacks, leads the league or does not lead the league in sack percentage, but he's sacked on 11% of his dropbacks, adjusted net yards per attempt of under 3.5.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough scene. They throw the ball so much.
Yeah.
202 passing attempts in 6 games, under 3.5 yards per, adjusted net yards per attempt taking on sacks.
50. You have to try 55% completion in this day and age. Now, you could roll out here and roll out of bed and throw 60%. That used to be good. Remember when 60% used to be like a good completion percentage, and now these dudes every year the top guys are 72, 73%.
Yep. I don't put much. I don't have much doubt in Cam Ward. I don't think I've learned anything about Cam Ward, the player, through 6 games that makes
I agree.
Convinces me of anything. And I think pairing him with Brian Callahan hasn't given us our best opportunity to assess where he's at. And I don't know. I always go back to that opening press conference with Brian Callahan because he was a goofy hire to begin with. Can we just go back to that? He was a goofy hire.
Come on, man. He was with Zach Taylor, offensive genius Zach Taylor in Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly. The non-play caller. Okay. And I remember I really wanted to hear it. I wanted to get a feel for his personality and how he walked in, what type of vibes he gave off and convinced an organization to hire him. And I remember him, they asked him, what do you envision for the offense? And he says, precision, route depth, timing. And then it's Will Levis and Cam Ward, the
outside of structure kings of college football the last couple of years, right?
Literally. It's like, I don't know. You need to get Kirk Cousins or somebody like that. These are not your quarterbacks, and then
right.
I'm not surprised to see the operation look like it has. So
the success rate is an interesting statistic. Which is like to boil it down in layman's terms, like a 4-yard pass on 3rd and 3 would be considered a successful play, right? Because you converted, and I forget what the exact math is, but I think if it's on early down, it's
40% on first down, 60% on second down, and all the yards on 3rd or 4th. That's a successful play.
Yeah. So successful play rate. Good quarterbacks, it's 48% and up, you'd consider like, hey, that's like a solid success rate. We're at 35% success rate on pass attempts for Cam Ward. 35%. And this is not this is a chemistry concern. This is not a Cam Ward concern. It feels in some ways very Chicago Caleb Williams from last year with what that situation was offensively early. And you've seen Caleb Williams, despite the warts that still exist and learning when and how to not fly too close to the sun at times, Caleb Williams has been a much more productive player. His touchdown rate's almost 2% higher through 5-6 games than what it was last year. And efficiency across the board is significantly higher. He's got his sack rate by almost half. A lot of quarterback stuff we can get into with this, but I think that kind of sets the stage for what Cam Ward needs with his next offensive coach.
Well, let's talk about some of those names here on the other side of it. There's two that I like and a bunch of, I don't know. We'll do it here in just a moment. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payments into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. I love that Built gives you that opportunity to let the rent payments finally work for you. You're earning points every month on something you are already paying for. And so whether it's grabbing food at a local restaurant or heading to the gym, you are still earning those rewards. You can use those rewards, and Built makes everyday life feel more rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plans. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by joining Built.com. So you're going to go to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use that link so that they know that we sent you. Again, joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? That's confidence, pure confidence. Well, if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiet Go Long. That's exactly where Rougiet Go Long comes in. It's about confidence. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for your confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, and the effects can last up to 36 hours. So that's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is very simple. You connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. So if you're ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to RUGIET.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure to use our code so that they know we sent you.
We like James Franklin for this job. Is that one of your guys on your short list?
No, I didn't have him down. down.
Okay. It was Vanderbilt before Penn State,
It was, yeah.
Right in that neck of the woods.
Nashville, baby. Okay, so names. I think there's 2 that I like. There's 2 that I like. I think the name that I like the most is Cliff Kingsbury.
Okay.
I like what he's been able to do in Washington with Jaden Daniels. I think he's learned a lot of lessons. I like that he's experienced. And I like some of the ways that he can get in structure things out of Cam, but also maybe allow him to be himself. And the other name that I don't know, I feel weird saying this, but I kind of like Mike McCarthy. There's a proven resume of winning under Mike McCarthy. And yeah, you can roll the dice at a hot shot coordinator or whatever you want to do, but like at some point, don't you just need stability? I'm not saying you need to do the Pete Carroll hire that the Raiders did, but something stable to give yourself a chance to like get this thing moving forward. And Mike McCarthy in 2 different spots with different quarterbacks has proven able to win games. And I think he should be in consideration for this job.
Yeah, I think to invoke the saying, I'm not shading Mike McCarthy here, but sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, right? And there's a big enough body of work in 2 different infrastructures and 2 completely different infrastructures as far as how the teams are run.
Yep.
To know what Mike McCarthy is. And people will understandably kind of thumb their nose at the name because, going into his 3rd team. And what the success has been since they had the early breakthrough with Rodgers. I get it. But man, if you're a team that's hurting for long-term vision and stability, and I can't think of a better team to embody lack of long-term stability and organizational balance than the Titans, who fire somebody from this side and then this side and then this side and then this side of the football operation for 4 years running, than Tennessee. I think when you think about Rodgers and Dak as quarterbacks and what Cam has from a foundation standpoint, he probably moves like Dak does now, but not like what Dak did when he first came into the league. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So Dak has had a couple lower body injuries, right? He's not the athlete that he
He's
was.
got a little something there. He's not.
He's not a stick in the mud by any means, but he's not Dan Mullen, Dak Prescott. And then Rodgers with the arm elasticity and the creativity and the ball handling ability. I think McCarthy's a great name to invoke, and he'd probably be at the top of my list if I was Tennessee. I had a list of 10 names courtesy of Easton Freeze over at A to Z. And I was hoping I could read these names and get like your one-word reaction to each of them.
Okay.
So one of them is Mike McCarthy, so we won't do that one. And Cliff Kingsbury was number 4 on this list.
Okay.
So these are just candidates. They aren't necessarily like, hey, they should hire this guy. It's, hey, here's guys that could be available and could make some sense. Mike Kafka.
Yeah, I talked to him.
You're interested.
Yeah, I'm interested. He'd have to blow me away, but I talked to him.
Kafka seems like he's the next guy that former quarterback. There's consistent buzz
chasing
there,
the Kevin O'Connell, right? That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I got it.
Joe Brady.
I talked to him. I think Joe Brady has redeeming leadership qualities. I like a lot of his approach. I don't know. He's had a lot of success with Joe Burrow and Josh Allen.
And that's my superlative reaction to Joe Brady would be risk.
Yeah.
I think that is a risky hire because of the conditions around him in those successful environments.
Yeah. I talked to him.
He got scapegoated in Carolina.
Yeah, I don't think that was fair, but
no, it wasn't fair when a lot of things happened to a lot of people in Carolina.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I wish we could learn more about Joe Brady in Carolina. I do.
Maybe that could be part of the interview. Arthur Smith.
No. I know that he's going to be talked about, whatever ties to the organization. I get it, but just don't do that.
Jesse Minter.
Wouldn't do it.
Got Harbaugh ties.
I think Cam Ward's one of these quarterbacks that I think you're going to want to really tie to an offensive mind. I really do.
So you're not going to like the idea of Brian Flores either.
No, I think Vance Joseph and all of that's in the same bucket for me. Happily,
So I'll skip
I think there's some teams that would make sense for. I think the Titans really don't need to go that route.
Okay. And then a college coach makes an appearance here on this list from Easton. It's the last name on his list. Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
I'd be very interested.
Yeah. Are we, while coaches are leaving college to begin with, are we sure that that's, Sark would rather be the head coach of the Titans than the head coach of Texas, right?
I would assume so. And the blurb from Easton says plenty of college coaches have been eyeing a transition to the NFL in wake of NIL changing the game, and I've heard more than one whisper that Sark is among them.
Yeah, makes sense. And he's been in the league a little bit, so I'd get that. Yep. There's some. So that's the whole list.
That's the list that I had brought courtesy of Easton with A to Z. Yeah.
Let me throw 3 names at you that weren't on that list that I had down that I thought were worth invoking. How about Clint Kubiak?
I like the idea of Clint Kubiak, but he kind of flamed quickly last year. I think it's very impressive what they have done early in 2025 with Sam Darnold and a whole new offensive system there in Seattle. But that's one of those ones I think I might feel better about it in January.
Yeah.
I would like to see, do teams figure out what buttons to push to defend you, and how do you react when that happens? I would like to know that answer before I get really excited about Clint Kubiak.
Matt Nagy.
No.
I agree. How about this one? Adam Stenovich. Packers. Non-play calling OC, but like, don't you just kind of like some things about that operation?
I like some things about that operation. The biggest issue that I have there is he has an offensive line background, right? And I don't think that's always the worst thing in the world. But I don't know. You hear so many different divides about how position-specific lenses view certain things. And if you're trying to maximize a quarterback, I don't know that would really excite. I could see it being like culturally like, hey, this is who we're going to be. We're going to be tough, hard-nosed, yada, yada. I get behind that.
Yeah.
But for Cam specifically, that one will be pretty low on my list.
So it seems like you and I both have some consensus interests in Sark, McCarthy. Where are you at on Cliff? Are you as interested as I am, or are you a little lukewarm?
I'm interested in Cliff, and I think him kind of getting some roots outside of failing upward into that job out of USC and Texas Tech and being in the league, and could probably help him build a little bit better of a coaching staff, which I think would be a concern, and learning the lessons of what happened in Arizona. And we just got done talking about Joe Brady in Carolina and what that operation did and did not allow him to be. And as it got longer into the tenure with Cliff, the situation got worse. And I don't know how much of that to blame on Cliff. So I'm interested in Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah.
All right. We had a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. The Bears win 3 in a row, and the Bills dropped 2 in a row. Are they on fraud watch? We'll talk about that here next.
You saw that meme, huh?
Just I didn't see it. I just think that's worth talking about.
The cell phone with like fraud alert. You know, when you get like the potential spam calls, and some of them say like fraud alert, and it had somebody put the Bills logo on it.
It is well deserved. We'll talk about it here next, folks. Be sure to stick with us. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put $5 down, and if it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many different ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. Yeah, the Bills lost last night, but one thing that I knew was that Bijan Robinson and Drake London were going to be a problem for the Bills. And so I smashed the over on those player props, and we did quite well, folks. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Hey, if you're going to lose on game day, make sure you win, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to hedge it, you know. You got to hedge it.
I'm going to be going to bed happy about something tonight. I'm going to be going to bed at 2 a.m.
Brother, I watched this Bills defense. They ain't stopping Bijan Robinson or Drake London. It was never going to happen.
It's the first thing I said to you in the pregame was Bijan might run for 600 yards against the Dolphins in 2 weeks.
Man, listen. This is not your poop party. This is my poop party.
Well, I'm just misery loves company, so I'm commiserating with you in the misery. That's all.
You know what? For the Bills defense has problems, right? I think I've tried to communicate that as much as I can, but trying to give them some level of the benefit of the doubt. They're shorthanded, right? And I think they got some reinforcements coming, but you know, just a major concern on defense. But like offensively, for that team to have the blunders that they did and the chances that they had to take advantage of the defense getting stops in the second half, and then just literally can't even get a first down. It's not good. They're not working in the run game with the same level of effectiveness as they did earlier in the year. And the passing offense, I mean, they just couldn't find any rhythm last night. The Falcons are a pressure defense, right? They're the highest splits rate in the league. They're even higher now after this. And whether it was protection breakdowns, Josh Allen decision making, or hey, like, was there a plan for the blitz? Did you have answers built into this game plan? Where were they? It was frustrating, but ultimately, I don't know. Like the AFC, dude, like who knows right now? There's only 7 teams with a winning record. That's it. Yeah. That's it right now. You know, like you could feel, I mean, maybe you felt good about the Bills a few weeks ago. Maybe you're starting to feel good about Kansas City. You know, maybe you feel great about the Colts. This thing, like some teams are going to figure it out and do it. And I think there's just across the board a lot of questions. And the Bills coming off of this back-to-back losses after you took an L at home to the Patriots at your home stadium to bounce back and be flat like this ahead of your bye. Yeah, there's a lot of questions and criticism, and it's all deserved.
So we've already seen some of this start with Jacksonville, but to your point about the landscape in the AFC, expect some teams to be buying here between now and the trade deadline on, I think it's November 4th. Because to your point, conference feels wide open.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of the established powers they're in okay shape, right? You got Buffalo at 4-2, and they're tied with the Patriots, but they lost a head-to-head, and they lost that game at home. And Pittsburgh's at 4-1. The Chiefs lingering at 3-3. Baltimore at 1-5, but I think they have the 28th highest strength of schedule remaining. Like they're
going to get back to 500.
They have Pittsburgh twice, and that's really it for games that you look at, unless
New England and Green Bay
play like a tire fire, right?
Yeah.
Would expect them to win some of those games. Even if they win a couple of those games, they could still be a 10-win team.
Yeah, I think they're going to be.
And they're getting Lamar Jackson back after the bye. They're going to get Patrick Ricard back after the bye. I think they're getting Roquan Smith back after the bye. They're a flawed team that has problems, but expect them to be in it. I think they're a fascinating team through the lens of, do you buy or not buy? Because I don't think they should. It was perceived with the Odafe Owe trade that they were selling, but they brought a player back. So it wasn't like they were just like, we got to jump on a player we knew wasn't a part of our long-term plan and got a player back that can help us in the here and now anyway. That's what the Ravens did. But they've got a lot of contracts to decide on who to pay and who not to pay. And do you compound that by bringing somebody into the picture? I think they're an interesting team, but if I'm Indy, I'm looking at an edge rusher.
Corner as well.
Corner. If I'm Jacksonville, they've already kind of laid the foundation that they're not done after they made the cornerback swap that they made. If I'm Buffalo, I'm interested. If I'm New England and I've got all the monopoly money in the world that I am unfazed by the prospect of salary, I'd be looking for a splash move there. If I'm the Chargers or the Broncos or the Chiefs, any of those teams in what's probably going to be pretty tightly knit when you consider the flaws that exist with each one of those teams, and they've managed to be all 4-2 or 3-3. I expect a lot of buying in the AFC between now and the trade deadline.
Flaws across the league, right? There just are, and I don't know. I don't know.
Parity league.
Are we taking ourselves back to like the normal this point in the year conversation where you're like, I don't know who's got it, right? Like who's got it this year, and then it's a matter of, okay, how do you make in-season improvements, whether that's personnel or just getting better, right? Figuring out your problems. But right. I think that's where we're at. We're at a crossroads for like so many teams, and the Bills obviously front and center with that. Like, are you going to figure out your problems, or are you just going to be an average team? Or the Bills are. I don't think the bottom's not going to fall out. They're going to be a reasonable team. They were 4-2 for the last 5 years. Like the Bills have, it's unfortunate. Like they always have some type of a lull. Even last year, the Houston and Baltimore losses back to back, those are ugly losses, but they always have the lull and they always come out of it. But like, there's something about this team that just doesn't feel the same as the other ones. And that's where I think there's some confidence lacking on my behalf that this lull, there's another one that they can get out of because of what this team has showed us in multiple areas. When they were 4-0, you're like, yeah, they're 4-0, but, and you say, well, they haven't played their best football, right? And you're like, oh, well, they're winning and they haven't played their best football. Okay, they're good. Then you have those two losses in a row, and it's like, I don't know. Maybe they just got by those first 4 games, and this is a little bit more who they are. So we'll find out. They got the bye week, and they got a lot to figure out.
Do you perceive the offense or the defense to be a more concerning? Josh Allen's going to probably, I would assume Josh Allen's presence would nudge you to the defenses, be like, hey, I've got more concerns about the defense. But like, if you remove that lens, if you can, and I know that's a complicated ask, I'm just curious from your perspective where, Buffalo has 5 turnovers the last 2 weeks, and the passing game has one game more than 245 yards passing, and some of that's out of necessity and some of that's not out of necessity. And I get all that. But then like defensively, 189, 238, 210, these are all rushing yards allowed defensively with some undermanned elements of the defensive front. Like, where do you fall on if the Bills did make a move, where would you most hope it would be?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think this is what you have to do, because I could talk myself into receiver, linebacker, corner, safety. I think you just get talent. How do you get a talented piece? You know what I mean? Yeah. Just get something that can help you. And because there's so many different places that it makes sense, I think you do have to be mindful. Like, you're going to get Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi back in the next game, and looks like Harrison's going to be around at some point. I know that's a tough ask. The guy's hadn't practiced since July 29th, and he's a rookie, and you need him to come in and save your coverage. I don't know what to think about that, but you have. I know this sounds crazy, but like, Jordan Poyer's probably a better option than Taylor Rapp right now. Like, so you have some chances with what's in the arsenal. But I think it's just about just getting some talent that can help you and try to make your overall team better, as opposed to being so hyper focused on one specific thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Quick shout out to Chicago. They lose 2, win 3. They're 3-2. The whole NFC North is a winning record, and Washington kind of has their shaky moments this year.
Just the consistency there, right, is kind of the name of the game for Washington when you consider loss to Green Bay and how they lost to Green Bay. Obviously, the Falcons lost without Jaden Daniels. Now this loss, 25-24. They have 3 turnovers offensively. Defensively, from like a yards perspective, they're giving up a lot of yards on the ground, and there's been 3 games this season with 380 plus yards conceded defensively. So they can get after the passer with the pass rush threat, but the overall consistency across the board and some of the situational stuff, particularly, do you know what they are on third downs offensively this year?
I'm guessing not very good.
They're 29th in the league. It's 33%. They have 20 conversions on third down out of 60 attempts. That's far.
Not good.
So,
and I think here's the thing with Washington, dude, their losses couldn't be more horrible. Green Bay, Atlanta, Chicago. You don't have tiebreakers.
Meaningful. Yeah, those are all meaningful losses. Now, they will get a little healthier. I know they're a little banged up at wide receiver, so maybe that will help them as well. But that is going to do it for us here today on the show. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino, we appreciate you guys checking out Locked On NFL Scouting. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back to talk to you all again tomorrow. We hope to see you then.